Hi, I'm Paul from the Studio Rats. In today's video I'm going to be building a new guitar pedal board. Now this video is going to be slightly different because I'm going to do something that I haven't done before, and that's to build a stereo board. With this board I want to incorporate two different amps, but the idea about this board is that I just basically take around this pedal board. I'll talk about the pedal board in a minute because it's absolutely stunning, but what I'm going to be using are two BluGuitar Amp1s. I've got an Iridium edition and I've got a Mercury edition. Now, as I said, this board is going to be completely stereo. I'm going to have stereo effects because I'm going to be using the send and returns from both of these and then running them to two separate speakers. Right, let's talk about the board. The board that I'm going to be using for this build is an Alder and Ash pedal board. Now, this is with the case on, as you can see. If you don't know who Alder and Ash are, they're a really small company in the UK that build these really lovely guitar pedal boards out of really nice woods. I'll show you the actual pedal board in a minute. But this is with the case on the top, and it comes with this really nice sort of vintage brown Tolex with this tweed on the top. Now, if I take the actual lid off, this is by no means a small pedal board, it's quite a monster. But here's the actual pedal board where I'm going to be putting the BluGuitar Amp1s and all my different effects. But let me just show you the actual wood on this. It's a really lovely, I think it's walnut on this one. With Alder and Ash, you can actually specify the I/O on the pedal board. So I've got like 3 mono and 1 stereo on this one. And also, one of the great things about Alder and Ash, if I put it around that way, is that you've got an internal compartment as well on these hinges, so I can put extra effects underneath. Now, this is obviously quite a big pedal board, but I've got loads to fit on. So what I'm going to do is to try and arrange where all the different effects and the amplifiers are going to go, and then I'll be back in a minute. So already I've come to a bit of a dilemma about where to put different things on the pedal board. Now, as I said, I'm going to be incorporating two BluGuitar Amp1s as a stereo rig. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be running this wet dry or just as a stereo rig, but I'm so impressed with how these things sound that I thought it would be a really good idea just to have a live pedal board with these two on, and to have like a stereo pedal board or a wet dry rig will sound absolutely fantastic with these two. Now, also I'm going to be using the remote one, which is going to be controlling both of these as well. Now, also I'm going to be using a TC Electronic Alter Ego delay. This has got 4 different delay settings on it. It's quite a bulky unit, so I don't know if I'm going to have this on the front of the board or inside the board, but one of the reasons why I would like it on the front of the board is because I can then choose my presets from these buttons here. But I could run it MIDI, so I could stick it inside the board as well. Now, I think I'm going to be incorporating one of these, which is a Universal Audio Golden Reverberator. This pedal sounds absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen that video, I released that last week, so you can go and have a look at that. Basic stuff, I've got a little wah-wah pedal, a polytune, a little spark, a little booster, a compressor. I always have a compressor on my board, BB preamp. Now, what I also want to do with this board, let's put that there, is to bring in the Boss IR200. Now, what I'm going to be doing with this is to take an output out of one of these units and run it into this, and then if I do need to run a silent stage, or I just need to run a stereo output to front of house, I can do that using this. So what I'm going to do now is to spend a couple of hours just trying to rearrange stuff and to see where everything's going to go. So I'll be back in a minute. So I'm thinking this is how the top of the board is going to look. So we've got the BluGuitar Iridium, the BluGuitar Amp1 Mercury, We've got the remote one, which is going to be controlling both of these units and switching all the different patches. For delays, we're going to be using the TC Ultra Ego, as I said, and also, as I said, we're going to be using the UAFX Golden Reverberator for the reverbs. Now, so that's going to be the top of the board. Now, ideally, what I wanted to do was to fit like a volume pedal or a wah-wah pedal on top, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do that. So I'm going to have to rethink that a little bit. But anyway, let me show you the inside of the board. Now, all the pedals that are going to be going inside are going to be connected inside this little remote box, which is also made by BluGuitar, which is connected to the remote one. Now, what that means is that I can switch out all the different effects, all the different pedals that I'm going to be using that can be connected inside by using some of these pedals here. Now, let me show you what I'm doing power-wise. So what I'm going to be using for power is this Fender Engine Room LV12. Now, the reason why I chose this is because each of these 12 outputs has got a 500 milliamp output on it, which means that I can basically run any pedal that I want. So if I decide to add any extra sort of high output pedals, things like Strymons or these UA pedals, I can do that because these pedals here will run on 500 milliamps, but it means that I'm never going to be restricted to whatever pedal that I want to plug into that. And also got the 12 output as well, because I might want to expand this in the future. So the next job is to wire up what's going on inside. I finally got it sorted, and this is how it looks. Now, a lot of pedals didn't actually make the pedal board, and I had to exchange them for other things. But this is what I've come up with, and the reason why I've done this and I've actually lost a few pedals is because I wanted more stuff on the front of the board so I could switch stuff on and off and to change stuff. Now, as I said earlier, I could actually do a lot of this through MIDI, because this delay pedal here, or the old delay pedal, would have been MIDI, but this is MIDI as well. But I decided to use a DD200 because it sounds fantastic. Anyway, the thing that I had to buy was this orange detonator. This is an ABY switch. Now, what this enables me to do is to switch between both of the different amps sort of simultaneously, or to have both of them together. Now, let me show you what I mean by that. So if I click on the both button, this now switches between the two amps. So I can switch between the Iridium Edition and the Mercury Edition. So Iridium Edition first. Now, I've got two speakers set up. I've got a little Victory cab 1x12 and also a Cornford cab as well, which is another 1x12. But I've panned them hard left and right so you can really hear the stereo width. Anyway, let's listen to one of the amps first, then the other amp, and then I'll switch them both in. So this is the Iridium Edition. So that's coming out one of the speakers. Now, if I click here, I can switch to the other amp, which is the Mercury Edition. Now, you can really hear what a difference there are in these two amps. One is, this one here is a lot brighter, it's a lot more mid-scooped. This one here is a lot more mid-forward. But the real magic happens when I switch both in together. Now, I don't have to have these hard pan left and right. The reason I've done that is so you guys can really hear what the difference is. But I might actually more blend these two so they're more sort of more centered. So there's my clean sound. Now, what I wanted to do was to have different levels of gain. So I've got this spark pedal, so I can bring that in just for a bit of a boost. Now, sticking with the clean side of things, I've also got this BB preamp that I can bring in. Now I've got the remote one, because what I'm going to be doing with that is to switch both of these amps simultaneously. Now, the remote one has MIDI, and it also has a little jack out that you can send to one of these units. So I've sent the jack out to, I think I've sent the jack out to the Iridium, and I've got a MIDI out going to the BluGuitar Amp1 Mercury edition. So if I switch to my classic channel, now that's switching both of these to the classic channel at the same time. I can also choose the vintage channel and also the modern channel as well. I can also bring in the delay pedal, this DD200, by switching on the effects loop, and that's turning on the effects loop on both of these amps as well. So it's a really useful, great sounding setup. I mean, the sound is massive. I don't know if it's going to come across in the YouTube video, but it's a really wide, big stereo sound. And also, because I'm using effects and I can bring in other effects at a later date, it can also expand those tones as well. The Amp1s also have a boost control as well, so I can bring that in using the remote. So there you have it, that's the whole setup. It'll be really interesting to see how it performs live as well as in the studio. But anyway, I really hope you guys got something out of this. If you did get something out of it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Click on the bell button and you'll be notified of any future video that comes out from the studio rats. I'm Paul and I'll see you next time. Cheers.